Hello, my name is Dr. Angharad James, and this video is going to provide a brief introduction to a workshop that I will be giving called Exploitation of Intellectual Property and the Global Economy. So just a bit of information about myself. My name is Dr. Angharad James, and I'm a lecturer in law at Aberystwyth University in the Department of Law and Criminology. And I teach and research in areas of commercial law, company law, and intellectual property law, for which I'm also the module coordinator. Now, the intention of this brief video is to provide an introduction to intellectual property. Now, you will come across intellectual property in your everyday lives, from books, films, music that you listen to, brands and products, and even inventions. Now, the World Intellectual Property Office defines intellectual property as creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce then. So broadly, intellectual property explores the legal protection of new ideas. And the aim is to promote an environment which creativity can be rewarded. And just to give you an example of this, the Coca-Cola brand was recently valued at more than 80 million US dollars. So this is a very lucrative business here. So protecting intellectual property means that those who invest their time, their effort, and their resources in creating and developing intellectual property, they can benefit from this investment then. And as you can imagine, it's an area of law which is constantly responding to technological change. So what exactly is intellectual property law? And more specifically, what are intellectual property rights and what do they do? Well, intellectual property rights allow creators to own creativity in exactly the same way as physical property. So intellectual property consists of rights and remedies in respect of this property, albeit an invention, a literary work, a film, a design. And these rights will also impact and will affect how people can use these products or goods or articles. So these rights can prevent people from stealing or copying valuable assets such as brand names or logos or design of products. But at its core, intellectual property law encourages innovation and it facilitates the dissemination of knowledge, so sharing knowledge. And it also promotes creativity. I've already alluded to how this area can be very profitable, so it can also promote commerce and wealth creation, but it also can encourage innovation as well. Now, intellectual property law is incredibly diverse and broad, and you can have property rights in a variety of different things. So from novels to computer programs, to podcasts, to films, television broadcasts, and then even things such as pharmaceuticals, to even the broadest types, such as genetically modified plants or even animals. So IP is predominantly concerned with the protection of information then. So looking at a few examples, perhaps lyrics and tunes from your latest or your favourite music artists, designer labels, the likes of Gucci, Dior, perhaps the chemical formula for a new cancer drug, and perhaps the shape of bottles, such as the Coca-Cola one, which you can see on the slides. All of these are protectable as intellectual property. So it is incredibly broad and diverse. Now, intellectual property refers to this general area of law that encompasses 4 types of intellectual property, or 4 of the most common types, which are copyright, patents or patents, depending on where you come from, designs and trademarks. And as well as there are a host of related rights. But for this talk, we're going to predominantly focus on the 4 main forms of intellectual property. And these are the principal forms protected in the UK by statute then. So starting off with copyright, and you might be already familiar, you possibly have seen the symbol with the C in the circle. But copyright law protects the way ideas have been expressed. So such as literary, musical, dramatic and artistic works, and these are known as original works. And there's also films, sound recordings, broadcast and published works. Now, as you can imagine, copyright law has expanded considerably throughout the course of the 20th century. And we now protect new emerging forms, such as things like computer softwares and databases. And copyright can protect works that demonstrate originality. Now, this refers to some evidence of independent skill on the part of the creator then. Now, patent law protects inventions and how things work. So an invention can be a product, a process for doing something, or something that offers some sort of solution to a problem. Now, inventions must display novelty. So that is that the invention must never previously be made available to the public by any means anywhere in the world. But predominantly, patents are concerned with how things work, what they do, how they are made, and what they are made for. For design, so design law protects the way that an article looks. So you're talking about the outward shape and appearance of a product. Now, a design may be 3-dimensional, something like a shape or a surface, or something 2-dimensional, such as a pattern. Now, design law is intended to stop other people making products which look the same or identical to the original. So design right protects what things look like. So this could be as simple as a coat hanger, or something more interesting, which you can see on the slide, Crocs. So the way that they look, the design of the Crocs in these cases. Now, trademarks, again, something that you're probably very familiar with in your everyday lives. Now, trademarks operate to distinguish the goods and services being made between traders. So they exist as some type of badge to help consumers to avoid confusion between goods or services of variable quality then. So what they do, they allow consumers to identify goods or services originating from a particular company. Now, typically, trademarks take the form of words or logos, as well as colours, slogans, shapes, or products, and can even extend to smells. Now these are everywhere. The likes of Google, Apple, these trademarks are instantly recognisable. But interestingly, it can also be colours, such as the colour of Heinz baked beans, which you can see on the middle of the slide. So, to summarise, intellectual property rights are very powerful and often very valuable. So given the wide range of intellectual property subject matters, so from books, songs, films, computer programs to company logos and pharmaceuticals, it's no surprise that this is an area of law which is constantly developing and responding to change. So intellectual property owners should be really vigilant when it comes to protecting their rights and always consider action when they become aware of an infringement of their intellectual property. So perhaps that could be that someone is using their IP right without permission to do so. Now, often time will be of the essence because the infringing act may cause the right holder to lose revenue or lose money. So intellectual property litigation can be very costly and it can also be very complicated. So I hope this gives you just an insight into the fascinating area of intellectual property law. So I hope you can join me for the full workshop session, which will give you a more thorough introduction to the different forms of intellectual property, and will give you an insight into some key cases that try to address the challenges posed by this ever-expanding area of law.